Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to Producing in Pandemic, session 50. Can y'all, is it really session 50? I think it might be session 50, y'all. Wow, come on. Could y'all just give yourselves a round of applause? 50 sessions. It's amazing. Doing this revolutionary free peer exchange, sharing y'all's knowledge, building relationships, internationally collaborating. I love it. I'm Claudia Alec. This is Producing in Pandemic. This is our weekly peer exchange session. We meet every Monday. We've been in 2021, we have been switching off from 10 a.m. West Coast time to 1 p.m. West Coast time every other week to create some additional accessibility. And we are recording this session because, as we know, we have colleagues who can't even make the specific time that we're meeting here, but they're watching the video. So just hello, colleagues. It's so good to see you. And it was amazing that you were able to come join us for our anniversary. That was amazing as well. So today's topic of conversation is going to be alternatives to Facebook. How are we connecting? What are the community spaces that we're building online? And potentially, this might be a 2-session conversation. As I started prepping our materials to get into this, I realized it was super deep waters, and we might want to do a full field trip to some of these spaces in the in-between week between us meeting. But before we get into that exciting conversation, and I also want to say a gigantic big welcome to James Amatabi from Hood Hippie Universe. Just to thank you so much for being here. And they came to specifically talk a little bit about their current experience with Mighty Networks. But today I'd like to first just begin us with our introduction. So we're going to start off with our survey. We're going to invite you to share your name, your gender pronouns, a land acknowledgement, a visual description, whatever your access needs are, just to give ourselves a really decolonized and accessible framework to begin. Please let us know, what's your practice? Where are you coming from? And if you have something you want to shout out, we want to hear you shout it out. We're going to ask folks to share one challenge or one discovery because we are trying to manage our time. But since we've got a rather reasonable number of participants, I feel like folks can actually fully tell their stories and not feel like they have to give us the Twitter length version of it. I'll give you some hand signals or interrupt if we have late arrivals and that we have to manage time differently. I will model to begin, since I gave us a gigantic laundry list. Also, we share power rather radically. So you're all invited to go into those meeting notes and put in your information, write down any observations you think are useful. You're all invited to help create the record of what we're doing here together. And also, I'm not going to call on you. And I'm not going to ask you to call on each other. Just put your name in the chat, and that'll create the order that we'll do all the introductions and just stack in the chat. My name is Claudia Alec. My gender pronouns are they, their, she, hers. You can use those interchangeably. I'm speaking to you from the land of the Ohlone people. The people are still alive. I'm also speaking to you from a country that still has concentration camps, and I look forward to not including that in my daily introductions. I'm actually having a little bit, yesterday I had a magical day of having no muscle flares, and I think I might have gotten too excited because I woke up this morning and I was like, oh. So it's either about to rain or I danced a little too hard yesterday. So if you see me pull a face, I'm not pulling a face at anything you're saying. I'm pulling a face because a muscle's pulling me. Other than that, I've got my coffee and my snacks, so all of my access needs are met. We're also a relaxed room, so you can be cameras on, cameras off, participate at your level of comfort. We do invite you, when you're introducing yourself and speaking to us, if it's possible to be on camera. That just makes it a little easier to connect to your work. But other than that, be comfortable. And let's see, my practice is, I have a national practice. So the Calling of Justice practice is connected to a lot of national networks. Really excited about the work that we've been doing with the Northwest Art Streaming Hub based in Seattle. We've been working with them and the Vera Project. And we just got done doing a training with, like, I want to say 16 youth BIPOC digital producers. So 6 weeks of training, free equipment. And now we're going into the next session where they're going to be producing work. And I'm discovering that my methods of scouting, there's just so much harder when I'm not there physically. Apparently, it's really easy for me to meet someone in real life, like physically, and just have a short exchange with them. And they're like, yeah, that sounds dope. Let's do this. And the yes comes quickly. I'm finding that attempting to attach artist with free venue and free producer is shockingly more difficult than it should be. And I'm recognizing that's because these digital platforms, they make it a little hard for us to connect sometimes. So that was my discovery and challenge for this week. Check. And I shall be quiet now and let the next person go.
Hi, everybody. I'm Rebecca Pingree. My gender pronouns are she, hers. I'm speaking to you from the unceded lands of the Yuchi, the Shawanoki Shawnee, and the Cherokee people, which is colonially known as Nashville, Tennessee. I got off to a rough start this morning, but the coffee is now in hand, and so my access needs are currently being met. I am the co-founder of Analog Theater, which has had to pivot profoundly in the pandemic. So this group has been an amazing resource and anchor for me in this bizarre time. I am a middle-aged white woman with kind of pandemic auburn hair that's side braided. I'm wearing a black boat neck top, and I'm sitting in front of a twin bed, a rather bright window, and an accordion. And a challenge for this week has really the last couple of weeks. I think all of my challenges have been like the kind of dovetailing the emotions with everything else, and this week it's been the kind of excitement of everybody being like, I'm getting vaccinated, oh, this is happening, we're going to be able to make plans, and I'm like, we haven't, I don't know about, and navigating those emotions in the midst of trying to continue like producing goals and sleeping at night and those kinds of things, which feels very rudimentary given the kind of things we talk about here. But that's where I'm at right now. And that is me. Check. I pass to the next.
I think that's me. Hello, friends. My name's Joan Lipkin. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm speaking to you from Osage, Illini, and Missouri, unceded lands colonially known as St. Louis. I am a white, middle-aged woman with not great eyesight. And I'm sitting, I've got COVID hair, long brown hair, and I'm sitting on a chair against a white wall. I am a hybrid of many things. I am absolutely a theater artist, but I'm also a very serious social activist and voting advocate. And a lot of my energies are going towards that and concern about protecting the vote right now. We have a mayoral election here tomorrow. I want to say that I think this group is remarkable, and I'm an enormous fan of Claudia Alec and company. However, I've sort of dropped off for the past several months because we were very, very involved in getting the vote out in Georgia and the national election, but it feels really, really good to be back here. My current challenge is I'm going to be moderating a panel for a civic group here on disability. And I have had an ensemble of people with disabilities for over 20 years, and I consider myself a member of the disability community. And my challenge is to tailor a conversation that's predominantly about disability in the workplace, which is what they're asking me to do when I feel like disability is an issue that's much greater than talking about the workplace, if that makes sense. And with that, I will pass to Alyssa. Am I saying it correctly, Alyssa?
So close. It's Elissa, but thank
I'm
you for
sorry.
trying. Good morning, everyone. My name is Elissa Stebbins. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I am speaking to you from the Ramaytush Ohlone unceded lands, colonially known as San Francisco. I am a white woman with brown hair and bangs. I'm in a blue room in front of an orange couch and a snoozing dog on that chair back there. I'm wearing a purple hooded sweatshirt and a gray t-shirt. My access needs are pretty well met. I will probably turn off my camera for stretches of time during today's meeting. I am historically an actor, newly turned theater maker, a lifelong teaching artist, and I am a co-founder of Analog Theater with Rebecca Pingree, from whom you already heard today. Challenges this week. The thing that's really top of mind for me was hearing an artistic director yesterday saying that they're looking at starting to call their theater a church in order that they may start to have audiences on April 15th. Yes, Claudia's face that's pretty much how I feel inside. It's just wild, and the pace of reopening is anxiety inducing for me, and we are lucky enough to be vaccinated in our household. But for the general good, I feel a lot of worry. And this sort of very capitalistic need to dive right in as soon as the law allows, or bend some rules in order to dive right in. It's just pinging around in my brain this morning, and I have a lot of feelings about it. Let's see, who is next? I believe it is Emma.
Thank you. Hi, I am Emma Goldman Sherman, and I haven't been here in a long time. It's wonderful to be back. I adore Claudia and all of you, and shout out to Joan. My gender pronouns are she, her, hers. I am coming to you from the unceded land of the Lenni Lenape, which is currently colonially known as New York City. I'm in way upper New York City, and I am a playwright. I founded bravespace.online, and it's a place for writing support for female identified and non-binary writers of all genres. I also run a new play development workshop called Brave New Workshop, which starts Wednesday for 8 weeks. My access needs are met. My visual description is I'm a middle-aged white woman with gray and purple hair, sort of with a COVID haircut that is just sort of blah, sitting on my head like a bowl. And I'm wearing a black top. I'm sitting in front of a bookshelf with a printer and some little arty postcards that are colorful. And what am I? Okay, and a challenge or discovery is that I have my play Horticulture, which is about 3 young women coming of age in a toxic culture. It's intersectional and feminist, and it just had a 3-night run at the Tank in New York City, online streaming, and will now stream on demand through the 17th. And it's sort of up to me to figure out how to get audience is interested. And the people who I think would be the most interested would be really gender study students who are looking at gender and looking at feminism and looking at toxic culture and things like that, and intersectionality. And so I'm trying to figure out how to connect with them. And I just got my second vaccine, and I'm living where the new strain that doesn't respond to medicine was originated. And we have a fairly high rate of transmission. So I am just acting like I have been for the past year, doing nothing. So I'm feeling that anxiety, and I'm expected to tour colleges starting next week for my son. So that's where I am. And I will put horticulture's links, and I'm also part of something called Period Play, raising funds for people who menstruate worldwide. And so check those out. It's really nice to be here with you all. Oh, I pass it to Joshua.
Thanks, Emma. Hi, all. I'm Joshua Waterstone. Can everyone hear me okay? Yeah? Okay, great. My pronouns are he, him. I am on the Ramaytush Ohlone land in the Bay Area, Santa Clara County. And my practice, I've been calling myself a theater and filmmaker and verisimilitude facilitator recently because I'm like, everything's about how do we facilitate truth, but that is encompassing for me directing, acting, fight choreography, digital production, and teaching artist work that I do. So I'm like, all of it is how do we strike at that? And my access needs are met. I do have some food nearby, and I know it's kind of gross to see someone eat on camera, but if you don't mind, I might do that a little bit. And a visual description. I am a white man with long hair that's pulled back in a bun, a semi-bushy beard, a blue sweatshirt, some headphones on, and a challenger discovery. I'm finding in some spaces, it's not in all, but I mean, definitely in like the theater space in general, there is a challenge to hold joy amongst challenges. And I'm trying to balance that out, right? Like, how do we do that? How do we hold the joy and also see the light through the clouds sometimes? Yeah, I think that's it. And Mickey, I'll pass to Mickey.
Good morning. I've got noisy dogs over here, so I'll just turn on the mic for the moment. I am Mickey Goldhaber. I am the artistic director of Rye Cripps Disabled Women's Theater. I am on Ohlone land in Berkeley, California. I use she, her pronouns. My visual description is that I have a pink schmata over me. I'm a white woman, middle-aged, dark hair, red glasses. And the challenge, I feel just ludicrous saying this, but it's that I have said yes to so many wonderful projects during this time. And I'm so energized and excited by my projects. It's been so easy to say yes now because it's just a matter of logging onto Zoom. But I have really said yes to too many things, my friends, and I'm not ready to let go of any of them. So I'm just trying to find the balance and the prioritizing. And some of you know, Rye Cripps is going to be doing a Zoom performance on April 25th. So that is in the #1 slot right now. But it's an exciting time in so many ways. And my access needs are that my disability is increasing during this time. And I am spending a lot of time dealing with my health and balancing all the projects. and love this group and glad to be here and glad to be working on so many great projects. And check, pass it to Rachel.
Wow, good morning. Can you hear me? Sweet, awesome. Okay, let's see, where are these prompts? My name is Rachel Lasky. My pronouns are she, her. I actually feel pretty, I don't know our land acknowledgement here on Kauai, Hawaii. So that is something I'm gonna learn. That's really amazing, awesome stuff. I am a musician and educator for the Hawaii Department of Education. My access needs are good. I am a blonde white woman in my office at home with wet hair getting ready to go to work. I'm wearing a speckly shirt with my dog asleep behind me. And my room is just a disaster because I had to move. But that move was in December, so this should all be done by now, but it's not. All the artwork is still everywhere. Oh, they moved. Oh, here they are. So I live Kauai, Hawaii. I've been watching these emails come in for these meetings for months, and I've finally made it. And I run a learning center on Kauai for it. We just do plays and musicals from 6th grade to 12th grade, except, funding stuff has been an issue. So next year, half of my line will be art and yearbook instead of theater. But I love my job. But now I'm editing 6 productions because I had to fire my editor. That's what's going on with me. Am I passing it to anybody? It looks like no. Oh, cool. I can find the land acknowledgement. That's awesome. All right. Don't think I'm passing it on.
Big thanks to Tanya. Thank you, Tanya, for that. It turns out the link in our meeting notes is actually funky, so we're going to want to fix that at the end of the meeting. So I want to invite Amani and James to join in our little introduction ritual in any kind of way that they would like to. Yeah.
Hi, everyone. My name is James Amutabi Kani Haynes. Gender pronouns they, he. I am on Ohlone land in El Sobrante. I'm a part of Hood Hippie Universe. I'm doing a big, along with that brother right there. But I'll let you do your own description of Money Will. And that's like all sorts of things. Film and music and teachings, and yeah, I won't do the list. You can continue the list. Let's see. Access needs. For now, they're met. Description. Let's see. I am chocolate, brown, black, white. Those are my teeth. Well, they're sort of white. And I have locks that are falling behind my head, so can't quite see them. It just looks like I have a little like strange flat top right now. I am wearing a black hoodie. I have a little goatee, wearing glasses to help looking at the screen right now, and have the white cord from headphones in my ear, or earplugs. I'm sitting in my room with art around me and sage. And I can see the wind, there's a window to the right side. like at a diagonal, and I can see the trees kind of blowing lightly, and I can see the clouds, and I can hear birds. And I feel like it's like a nervousness, excitement kind of in my spine from like my atlas down to like mid back, and it kind of wraps around to my belly. Challenge. Being my word. I feel like there are many things that I say and do, and kind of falling in and out of like kind of doing my best to show up for what I've said, and not always actually being able to meet what I've said, and needing to clear, needing to like find ground and integrity again. And feels like this like cycle of that. And so, finding dignity in the cycle of in the cycles of challenge. Okay, yeah, I think I'm done, complete. And assuming I'll pass it, which is like 2 people down this way on the screen, to Amani Will. You're muted.
Peace, y'all. Can you hear me okay? Okay, good morning. I am Amani Will. My pronouns are he, they, and we. I am also here just on the other side of the wall of James Amutabi in occupied, unceded Chichenyo Ohlone territory, El Sobrante, California. Yeah, we're here with the Hood Hippie Universe. And the practice, we are just synthesizing about a decade of collecting information and collaborating together into a year-long training called Decolonization for Dreamers. And it's a asynchronous online training, multimedia interdisciplinary, featuring 40 different dream guides, featured teachers throughout the year. We've got Claudia joining us. We've got Victor Lee Lewis and Lee Monwa and Starhawk and Shireen Badawi and a whole bunch of amazing folks who are kind of wrestling with this question of decolonization from different places. And we're weaving culture and art, music through a variety sketch comedy collage based TV show, essentially, where we facilitate a Hood Hippie Universe Dreamers Anonymous meeting in the form of the Earth, each of us in an Instagram filter of the Earth head. So, just like y'all, we're here wrestling with these questions, how to do this thing good, how to be good for everybody, how to equitably offset the resources that we are unfairly given in the inertias of systems of oppression, and how to claim more resources that are kept from us in the systems of oppression, and how to shift those systems. And right now we're focused on how do we do that in the dream, in our consciousness, and in our culture. I'll share a challenge and then a visual description, just because I'm talking about D for D and Hood Hippie Universe. Let's see, so many beautiful challenges. This is our first time putting together a year-long training, and this is our first time calling together something so big. We're working on getting about 300 folks to join us on this journey. Let's see, what's a like intersectional challenge? I think the challenge that feels most exciting to me right now is how to really surrender to the bodies, to the decisions, to the knowings, to the questions, to the needs, to the tending of the ecology of that which is most important to me, and that which is clear, and that which is feels ripe and full of potential, and that feels nourishing, and how to really rest as with that as my primary experience in the midst of keeping logistical brain and tracking all the things that need to be tracked and processing grief and clarifying what's true for me and navigating all sorts of intersectional world dynamics and yeah, just really how to feel like we have created something that I really want to live in, and I'm really working on how to live in it more and more every day, and let it be my world in a way that really helps me serve it in a deep way and be less distracted by myself and the world in the ways that I can be. I am a African and Aniunwiwa Choctaw Okmulgee British Isles Gaelic Germanic Saxon mixture in a light brown body with reflective glasses on and a slightly pointy nose poking out underneath them, and dark black mustache and beard, and locks that are kind of propped up and coming just past my face, laying against a maroon pillow with a shiny sweatshirt on that imitates chainmail. And you can just see the bottom of a painting with a hummingbird whose beak is drinking the nectar of my mind stream. So, yeah.
I believe we are all met. Welcome to Producing in Pandemic, y'all. So we have a moment right now to have a little bit of connective tissue between all of our check-ins and have a short exchange around that. And then I'm going to move us to having a conversation around alternatives to Facebook groups. What are all of the different ways we're connecting and building community in these digital spaces? And full transparency, I was prepping for this conversation and realized it's bigger than one session. So it's a lot like that teaching conversation. We're going to have this conversation now. We are definitely going to have to revisit this and revisit it probably with some field trips. And I've got a list of platforms that I'll introduce at the end of our conversation where we might want to do some exploratory field trips. But before we get there, Elissa, I made a face, a shock face at one of the stories you shared with us about an arts institution, if I heard this correctly, an arts institution that is doing the work to become a church, a religious institution, so that they can open earlier and be able to have capitalist economic exchange around their art exchange. That's amazing. So worrisome. Just quick survey. Folks have shared a little bit about their personal ability to get vaccines. I'm curious, how are folks feeling about their communities' access to vaccines? Is it feeling like we're at a 10? Everybody's going to get vaccinated. Is it feeling like we're at a 5? It's happening, but like this is a slow process? Or is it feeling like I got nothing? I'm seeing 5. I'm seeing a 10. I'm loving that 10. I'm admitting Gabriel Grilly into the space. Oh, okay. All right. Well, those hand movements are filling me with a little less trepidation about what the future holds. Even as I'm recognizing that we don't have a lot of 10s happening. So that's real. I know that because my practice is national and because I'm working with a lot of marginalized communities, my perspective might not be the same. I'm seeing a lot of folks who are not feeling like they're going to have quick access. So I'm really happy to see the 10s and the 8s and those hand signals. Welcome, Gabriel. We just got done with our check-ins, and I was just doing a little bit of connective chit chat about some of the stuff we've been talking about. Was anyone able to go to the Dr. Fauci live stream for gathering in physical space? I left a link to that video in our Discord. So if you want to go there and watch it, you can. I also put a link to the CDC holiday gathering guidelines, because I feel like these are some of the national touchstones that we can find. Do you want to just say that observation out loud? That's beautiful. Or I could read it. I shall read it. Our household is tied into the food service industry, so I think my 8 is skewed by the fact that a lot of our folks were eligible early. Oh, yes, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Who in this space is dealing with physical producing drama pressures, and who in this well, first let me just do that survey. So again, I'm just going to ask for like a hand signal, being like, yeah, physical stuff, it's so much, or it's like, no, I'm not really worried about it. I'm seeing some middles. Interesting. So it sounds like we're still in the world of grappling in a transmedia context. We're trying to do remote producing as well as working with some physically shared spaces. Thank you to Tanya. Had to leave early, but Tanya left a link to a job opportunity, so that is in the meeting notes. Also, big shout out to everyone who dropped their show links. Thank you for dropping your show links so we can come support your work. I want to make sure Hood Hippies, please drop a link so folks can join the decolonization for dreamers and access that. That's amazing. I'd love to give a quick moment. Gabriel, you joined a little late, but I'd love to let you introduce and say hi, hello, and just tell us how you're doing from your neck of the woods before we transition. And it's so good you're here for this conversation, because you're literally working on a digital community space. So this is fabulous. But please.
Yeah, sorry. Thanks, Claudia. I appreciate it. Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm Gigi, he, him, his. I'm coming to you from Manhattan today, land of the Lenape peoples. And yes, so I'm sorry, I lost the thread of the intro. I am a theater artist, film artist. Let's see, I've been struggling with just, staying connected during this pandemic, and been kind of shifting more to writing rather than producing, trying to build a community that way. So yeah, I'm excited about the discussion. As Claudia mentioned, I've also been working on an online platform that is trying to cultivate community and connectivity online, and that's had some success and some challenges. So I'm excited to be here for the conversation.
Last connective tissue comments are loved facilitating truth. Feels like a lot of us are now doing these very, like, it was always a thing where a lot of us were doing blended practices where we were arts producers and also arts educators. And that was like a blended identity where you were doing it for survival moves a little bit. It feels like everyone is now simultaneously event producers. Even if you were in your previous identities just an event embodier, we're all producers. We're also all facilitators, or we're all being asked to be in spaces that are facilitation, community building spaces, organizing spaces. So it feels like that's leaking into a lot of theater ecologies. I don't know if that's a Claudia specific observation or if that's true everywhere. What do y'all think? Do you feel like that's a thing that's true for a lot of theaters? I'm seeing faces nodding. Does anyone else want to vocally co-sign what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'll vocally co-sign. I'll also say, or they're hiring people who are becoming the producer. So if they don't want to become the producer, they're hiring a digital producer.
It felt like, Joshua, you were talking about something where it feels like some different identities, like job roles, are being manifested in theater ecologies that are like these digital producer roles, but also like facilitator roles.
I agree. Yeah, I think definitely there's a lot that's wanted to be facilitated. I mean, in terms of EDI, in terms of gosh, I mean, just group dynamics. How do you rebuild a company based on racial and economic justice? It needs facilitation.
Word. Shout out to our remote etiquette. I clocked that so many people did the "Can you hear me?" That is such a lovely move to, before you launch into your monologue, to be like, is the signal being received? As I often say, communication is not just sending the signal. I can write a note on a piece of paper and throw it at your head. You got to pick it up and read it before. And I need to confirm that you read and then we know that the communications happened. So thanks to all who were like, can you hear me? Thank you for asking that question. That helps the entire space to function better. And y'all let me know later if you feel like it's really obnoxious saying everybody's name when they enter the digital space, or if it feels like, oh, this actually makes this remote context feel a little less disconnected. And last, shout out to observations made by the whole group. Pacing yourself in pandemic. Y'all, I've been observing you. Like every time we do one of these, people show up and they're like, I haven't been to like 5 of these. The room is always full. It's full of people from all over the country, and you're often not in the space at the same time. And you're all so busy and you're doing so much. You're surviving a global pandemic. You're surviving those gigantic stressors. You are surviving late stage capitalism and some really problematic political dynamics happening on a national scale. And actually, that was a very United States centric observation. So for our international audience, you're surviving stuff too. So you're all surviving. Your brains have been soaked in cortisol for a year. For many of us, I think that we have this fiction that after a certain amount of time, things are supposed to be easier, or you're supposed to transition into like a different state of being. And that's not reasonable. This is like we celebrated a year of doing this last week. So this tells us we've been at this for a while and we're still at it. So I just want to affirm anybody who's tired, hey, it's all right. That's a really reasonable feeling to be. That's completely reasonable. If you're feeling like you have less capacity, maybe even more quicker to anger or whatever, all of that's completely reasonable. That's the state of the world right now. So I just want to acknowledge reality and affirm that y'all are doing such a great job. Who wants to talk digital communities? So we could start in a lot of different places. We could start with a history, and we could go back and have a conversation about 6 degrees of separation. Is anybody old like me and was like a early adopter? Come on. Hey, I saw you. We could do that. We could, yes. We could have a conversation about, what are the things that we liked about those spaces? What are the things that we felt were lost about those different ways of connecting? We could have a conversation where we go, hey, let's ignore what already exists and just talk about what we would ideally want from a digital space. Like if I had $1 billion and I could design a Facebook alternative for your community organizing, what would you want in it? So that's a second approach to the conversation. And the third approach to the conversation is we just start with Facebook and we start to complain about what we don't like about it. And then we start from there. So we've got three options. I've been looking at your facial expressions as I've been pitching my options to see, which one would folks be most into? And it feels like folks are most into option number 2. Let's just dream about what we would ideally want. I'm seeing mild nods. So yeah, let's start there. We have $1 billion. We get to make a Facebook alternative. What are we doing? What do we want this space to have? Joshua, you want to say more about that?
I'm just wondering if we could have a completely accessible space that somehow you can be in, even if you don't have the resources to do it, or you don't have, like, how can we have a fully accessible space? We have $1 billion, so I'm saying we can do it somehow.
So what I'm hearing is fully accessible. So like not like Clubhouse, because we did our Clubhouse. Well, we didn't do a field trip because Clubhouse is so inaccessible. We could not manage doing a field trip with a large, diverse group because it's only accessible to iPhone users, and it's only accessible to people who can hear. So it's actually a really inaccessible app to large portions of the population. So I'm hearing you would want to have a design that was accessible, audio, visual, all those things. But I also feel like I heard you saying something about money. What did you mean by that?
Yeah, I was hoping that there was also a way to do it with, without even a computer. Without that type of access. Is it possible to have a social space that connects you to other people, but also you don't have to have the thing that's currently connecting us to other people?
I'm seeing Rachel saying, so public access points. And Emma saying, or getting that equipment to all. So yes, like the New York Public Library. I was talking with Jessica I'm not going to remember her name, so I'm not going to say it because I'm going to say it wrong. But I had a lovely interview with her last year as they were designing that program, where they were creating these little kits that were like a library kit that would have a pad, a microphone, and a ring light, and just some basic stuff. I'm also realizing there are some digital communities that you can only belong to if you have that specific platform. So like I'm thinking gaming communities. There are some gaming communities where you can't be a part of that group unless you've got like I'm going to reveal my gaming ignorance, a PS5. I'm seeing an email address is often required. Can y'all talk to me more about that?
This came up for me the other day. Folks were talking about trying to get vaccinations, especially to unhoused people who might not have an email address, or to people who English is not their primary language, and just the login procedure creating a big barrier to entry for vaccines. And I wonder if that's also a barrier to entry for social platforms that I just didn't know about before.
That's real. I mean, right now, a lot of the conversation in digital space design is how to make a frictionless entry point. So how do you make it so easy for somebody to get in? They didn't even know they got in. They're just like, wait, where am I? I'm here, I'm inside of it. And oftentimes the ways that they're designing that are ways that are creating more inaccessibility, because they're saying, oh, the frictionless access point is your Google ID. It's your Facebook link. It's like, oh, I think this is us making the problem worse, not actually making better solutions. I don't know though, but I think. Some of these sites that are alternatives to Facebook cost money. And they cost money for the individual users. So there are some spaces where it's like, if everybody's willing to pay $15 a month, they can have that space. I'm also thinking about why Facebook is free. Yes. In the notes, we have the comment, they sell you. Exactly. That's kind of the deal with so many of these spaces, though. YouTube, TikTok.
So then I guess that sort of leads me to think that whatever this ideal platform is, it's a public utility and not a private enterprise, whatever that is.
I was having an exchange with a colleague and we were feeling some deep anger at the amount of money it costs to make our spaces accessible. So just going back to Joshua's comment, and how it felt really unfair. It was like the equivalent of like I'm throwing a party, but I'm required to pave the sidewalk of my block if I want people to get to my house for my party. And it's like, that's not fair. That should be taken care of by something larger than me. Ooh, well, ask that question out loud. That's a good question. I'm talking to you, Gigi. Go ahead and ask it.
Yeah, so I just was curious if anyone here is active on a Facebook alternative social network and could speak to its efficacy or non-functionality or functionality, because I'm not familiar with them and I'm curious if anyone has experience with them.
Well, I know that a bunch of us have experiences in a bunch of different sites and spaces. One of the reasons why I wanted to start at that 50,000 foot place is because we've already spoken about, so Facebook, something that's large and has all of the users on it, a space that has like the accessibility and functionalities of a public utility. That's exciting. I actually think that a lot of us, because I saw people going, no, I don't think so, but raise your hand if you've ever belonged to a Slack group. That's an alternative community communication space. The problem with Slack is that it doesn't index well. And it's, so I find that Slack is a wonderful space for project specific communications. So if we're doing one thing with a discrete group of people, it's awesome. But the second that discrete group of people grows, it exponentially becomes a space where there's so much noise, it's difficult to connect to people. So the few times where I joined a Slack group that was specifically, like I recall joining a Slack group that was for like AR and VR designers, and within 3 months, they had started a Discord because the Slack had become so prolific that it was now a space that you really couldn't do anything in.
I find myself definitely compartmentalizing communities where I'm like, I have my Discord community and that I hop onto Discord to check. And sometimes it's just like, oh, I miss some people. And I'll just be like, is anybody streaming? No. Okay. But I'll just like log in to just go like, yeah, no. Okay. And then and then move on with whatever I'm doing. It's almost replaced in some cases picking up the phone to call certain people, is just to see if people are hanging and then be like, oh no, nobody's hanging right now. But there's this interesting thing that happens, and I think it's part of Facebook programming for me, is because on Facebook, there are always conversations about leaving Facebook and they come up regularly. And so there's always the things that people mention on Facebook about things that they consider to be alternatives and whether or not, and mostly those always seem to come and go, and I never end up on, I can't even call to mind some of the things that people suggested might be alternatives to Facebook in various Facebook conversations over the last, what's it now, 10 years? Like, oh, but like those always seem to just come and go, and maybe I literally can't even remember what it was called. One of them I think I got on at one point, and I don't think it exists now, or if it does, oh, fuck if I know. So but yeah, I'm doing a lot of compartmentalizing, but I haven't found anything that feels the same, because again, the community that's on Facebook is what I think of as being a replacement to Facebook. Is like there's some overlap with my Slack groups where those people are also on Facebook. There's some overlap with the Discord where some of those people, not all of them, are also on Facebook. But there's a lot of people who are on Facebook and part of that community where like I don't have an alternate for them. And so that's the disclaimer that I'm automatically making when somebody asks me, am I doing an alternative to Facebook? And I say, no, I don't have an alternative for that community. Anyway, so I'm just calling that out.
I'm using Slack for several specific projects, and I would agree with Claudia that it works really well that way. It's funny because until we started discussing this in the meeting, it hadn't ever really clicked for me that it is in any way related to Facebook. I think of it more like the old sort of messenger apps that I just, it's my quick way to chat with this group of people and to hear what this group of people is saying about our mutual project. What I've only spent a little bit of time on Discord, and I'm still trying to grok like, what does Discord have that Slack doesn't? They seem very similar to me. Could someone speak a little bit about that?
So similarities to Slack and Discord, and this is just going to be me speaking as like a native user, right? This is less Claudia organizer. This is more Claudia user. I find Slack has been the space for my professional spaces, and Discord has been the space for my socializing spaces. Socializing is a space where I'm going in and out of for funsies. So Slack has always been a space where I go to it to do the project and then I leave it. And I don't want it to be reminding me of stuff, bothering me to do things. I try to keep Slack as itself. Discord, here's the other complicated thing. Every platform is trying to become all the other platforms. So I would have given you a very different response 6 months ago, because 6 months ago, Slack was different. But then Slack was like, I don't like how everybody's liking Discord more. We're going to have video features too. We have video features. You can talk and chat and have a voice. You can have a voice chat on us. That's not great. It's not awesome. They just started it. It's their own bespoke version of it. And I don't like it. I don't like it. I'm being transparent. I like Slack for some things. Their video chat, their audio chat, I'm not a fan of it. So on Discord, I use Discord as like, sometimes it's a social space where I have it set to like, it'll go ping, and then I'll know if my friend is there and I can just go hang out with my friend to like, just literally go in a video room and talk. Sometimes we can share a video game playing on Discord as well. I also, one of the things I like about Discord is I don't feel like it's stealing my data. And I don't think that Slack is doing that, but I've always felt like Discord was a freer space. This is me speaking very irresponsibly, though. I would have to actually do the research to find out if that belief is actually accurate. Yeah. And could someone talk about show ticks for you? I love that 4 people are like, oh yeah, no, I've done the show ticks for you. And now everyone's pointing at other folks. I'm just wondering what is the website? What does it do? Please go ahead.
I can talk if no one wants to. I thought maybe someone has more experience than me. I have only used it one time for a show, and I was doing some digital production for a show. It is a very private website, which is interesting. If you as a company want to only give your digital producer the link to stream to and don't want them to have backstage access to like the people who are involved and all that, you have a lot more privacy on ShowTix for you, because you as the company can only be like, hey, you're going to stream for me? Great. I'm only going to give you the stream key. You don't have access to anything else. And so if you want to keep that kind of private, I think that it's a better choice. It doesn't have as many options that I thought in terms of like creating a button or like a place to donate or like a call to action that Crowdcast does. Unless it does. Rachel, you mentioned something.
So because I'm government technically, because I run the Learning Center for the Hawaii Department of Education, I did a lot of research and I'm a first year teacher. Welcome to teaching pandemic. Well, second, I was a sub last year. So yay, pandemic. So I did a lot of research because of our kids' privacy. And we do photo releases here in Hawaii. And so I reached out to another learning center on a different island. We're the only one on Kauai and there's 30 of us. And I reached out and she's been using Showtix for You for like 10 years. So I did a little bit of research on it. It's really cool for a lot of reasons. You can live stream your event. You can do a scheduled event. So I've been, because of the masks and stuff like that, I've been filming kids from home or using Screencastify, or they submit videos depending on their age and editing it together. I learned Final Cut Pro to do this. Or you can do scheduled content. So the scheduled content, or the on demand, you can put it up there for on demand. So, and it's connected with one licensing house, but you don't have to be with that one to do it. I've used it twice for the same show so far. It was a middle school production and we had our public viewings in the fall in December. And then we did a school show at the middle school online. And I was able to give all those teachers a code and make a video of super simple how they could get in. You go to this website, you type in your code and bam, they were there, ready to go. It was super easy as an educator and being the coordinator of the program, and then me being there and facilitating one room by myself for all my virtual kiddos was really, really excellent. They do this automatic part of like, if you allow for advertising, you can get a little teeny like 5 cents things. And there is a donation button, but because I'm a government entity, I have to be really careful what I do with that. But there is, and their customer support is absolutely phenomenal. Just have to put that out there because like there's so many times when I'm setting up an event because I've only used it twice. Like, oh no, how do I do this? Can I do comp tickets? How does that happen? What are the fees? How does that work? I can chat with them. I can book a phone call. And sometimes in the chats, they'll be like, can I just call you? This is too complicated via chat, and they'll just call me. They're amazing. Very helpful. But I'm certain there is a way to do donations or add a fee or pay as you can. Sorry, I know somebody wanted to say something.
This is Claudia. I'm just asking, since the larger framework of the conversation is digital communities, alternatives to Facebook groups, in Showtix for You, is there an aspect of people getting to chat with each other or have exchange with each other?
There is a chat box if you want.
But is that just like for the live show?
Yeah, and there's like your show will start blah 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 time, and so people I think they can chat during there. My people don't usually do that because yeah, because there's usually only like 5 families watching.
Gigi with is it Meet Eye to Eye? Am I getting the name right of the site?
That's right.
In
Yeah.
Meet Eye to Eye, if I'm on it, is there a way for me to get invited to join communities that I've never been to? Or if I go to it, am I going to a place that I know about and it's only to connect to people I know?
I think it was conceived to do the first thing that you said. It was conceived to be a space where you could show up and discover different ongoing activities. I think for me, it's been interesting for those of you who weren't here when we did this. I've been working with a platform called Meet Eye to Eye for about 6 months now. the challenging thing has been it's gone through this huge shift with funding and with technical capacity. When I joined the company, there were like 30 employees. Now there are like a handful of part-time people. So I think funding is a huge element to this equation that isn't something that we've touched on, and also like who the CEOs are and what their vision is for the organization. Like, I think Facebook would be a really different thing if it wasn't Zuckerberg driven. I don't know what that alternative would be, but it would be something else. And I think, for each organization, that it's really been fascinating for me to be sort of on the ground floor of somebody who is trying to build something that would function as like a community gathering place and also a space where people could host events. It hasn't really been successful in either regard. So right now, Claudia, to sort of address your question more directly, right now it's more like there's an event, like it's facilitating a lot of corporate events right now. So it's basically like a lot of corporate events that were happening in person. The like main functionality for Meet Eye to Eye now is moving them onto the platform. So you would have to be a part of an organization that knows, oh, okay, at 4 p.m. Pacific, we go on, and this is the group we join, and this is the password. There is the capacity to go on right now and to just explore in like an open forum, which I think might not have been there, or maybe was just in the works when we went on as a group and explored it. But again, the robustness of it, like initially he was in touch with a lot of community partners. He was talking to BLM. There were like meditation sessions that anyone could join. The idea would be to have this sort of space where anybody could, be like, I'm going to do a guitar class of this kind. I'm going to do a language class. So the idea was for it to be an open forum. It hasn't become that. And I think, that has a lot more to do with funding and the sort of like capacity of the CEO than it does, anything else. So I just think that that's been sort of fascinating for me to watch, and it still could become that. And I don't know if some of these other platforms are having success, like GatherTown and some of these other ones that are becoming well known. I don't know like who's being more successful in the space doing that. Maybe someone's doing a great job at that. I'm not sure, but I do think it was a cool thing when I joined that it had that potential. It felt like, oh, there was actually a person who was community relations specialist, like that was her full-time job, was to try to form those communities and create space for them. And like almost all those people got let go because there just wasn't the money to support it. So. But maybe there are other organizations that have better funding and better resources that have been able to make more headway with that.
It's so real that it's a little impossible to manifest the things we're trying to manifest with the lack of resources. And also, to a certain extent, community is about the people. It doesn't matter that the building isn't the point. It's what's taking place inside the building. Who's doing the inviting? Who's doing the decorating? Are there snacks? And for a lot of users, we also have a lot of users that are trained into feeling comfortable with specific kind of digital shapes and ecologies and ways of getting into spaces. So if you're designing something that's different shaped, like we see eye to eye, there's actually a point of friction of people being like, how do I even get in? That's kind of the point of this space. This is a safe space to like experience the friction of trying to onboard into some new technology. Mighty networks, and in our next session, we'll probably share even more, but I did want to invite, if Hood Hippies are still here, I'd love to invite them to talk a little about like why they chose Mighty Networks as their platform, and how it's working for them so far. And then maybe we'll check back in like 6 months and see how it's still working. But yeah, is Amani or James, are you still here? Hey. Why can't I hear you though? Because you're muted.
Muted, yeah. Yeah, so we're just getting started. We have been in our Mighty Networks platform for about a week now. And one of the main reasons we chose it is because we didn't have a platform. We were just going to do like Zoom, Google Docs, and social media, Facebook and Instagram. And Starhawk reached out to us, who is a legend in my childhood mythology and grew up with her books on the shelves and is an auntie of mine. And so a lot of it was just, it felt really sweet to be kind of nestled in Starhawk's community. She also offered us somebody to help us with the admin and to kind of design our training within their thing. And then that person lost somebody in the Boulder shooting. So we haven't had a chance to set up yet or to really check in or get the like the real orientation or introduction. So we're kind of like feeling around in the space so far right now. One of the main pluses for me is the experience of like, it's not Facebook. We're not asking folks to come in and participate with us with the risk of getting pulled into whatever else or having to interface with all that Facebook wants you to interface with. It's both a challenge and can make it some sweetness too. The only automated way to get folks in that we have figured out so far without our admin help is to send folks, so either folks can click a link and then they have to fill out a short form and then there's like a 24-hour window before they get let in, or we can take an email, like Rebecca, I just found your email when you subscribed and put it into the Mighty Network space directly, so you should be able to get directly in. So there's like an anti-capitalist pacing, and we're concerned that some people are having access needs of like the email reply takes too long, it gets lost in the spam or the promotions mailbox. People are like, wait, I signed up and nothing has come, I'm not sure what's happening. We're used to things being like this. So we're trying to figure out if there's a way around that, or if we want to create some language, and when you subscribe, you get an automated email that says we invite you to take 24 hours to wait for your invitation and sit with a question or something.
Okay, I just want to interrupt to do a shout out for communicative prompts that help your participants to break out of their capitalist pacing.
Yeah.
That's powerful. And I need that. I need a remote prompt that like immediately responds to my email that says, hey, thanks for this. Take a breath, wait for 48 hours.
Yep. So there's something beautiful in that. And I love the question of how much do we try to be like these things and how much do we actually set different rhythms and communicate about it as part of the teaching and practice and exploration. Yeah, Mighty Networks is nice. Like all of our events are in a calendar there. You can sync the whole calendar of our community. So we have Decolonization for Dreamers free community that's under the umbrella of Starhawk's EAT online training community, which is within the Mighty Networks. So you can have your own community within Mighty Networks, or you can be housed within, you can have communities within your community. You can like send reminders and updates to all of your members. You can send messages to folks who have RSVP'd to events. It's a little clunky in terms of interfacing within and without. There's not like a simple link to the event that's embedded in the Mighty Networks community that I can share if you're not in that community. So there's something sweet about like, if we can successfully get a bunch of people in there, then it's just in there, and we want you to start by coming into here. But it's a little clunky for the process of like wanting to share things quickly that we haven't promoted enough to like have the whole process of come in, then check it out. So there's like a little bit of like, okay, IG Live, Facebook Live, and then the folks who have come into the Zoom session, or integrating Zoom sessions with IG, Facebook, and the Mighty Networks. So there's a little bit of like playing with how much it's it's like padded, and you have to go through steps to participate. And yeah, in 6 months, we'll let you know when we have our, when we actually get onboarded, when we set up our, so right now we just have a community. We'll also then set up a training, which will help scaffold modules, which kind of disseminates them one step at a time, which you can hold a whole calendar for a year-long training with links and articles and videos and kind of modules for each class that I think can contain pedagogy, questions, assignments, links, all that.
Well, I feel like you just touched upon a couple of really important takeaways for us. One is in the Facebook ecologies, it's a distraction space on purpose. Like somebody very smartly said that we were the thing that was being sold on Facebook, but also our attention is what is one of the factors that's being sold. Not just our literal like identities, but our attention and our attention dynamics. So they're testing us, and they don't want us to stay in one place. They want us to stay on Facebook, but they actually have, as a business entity, they don't care about your community existing or thriving. They just care about Facebook existing and thriving. So the nice thing about Mighty Networks is that once they're in your space, they aren't getting a bunch of like things being like, hey, yeah, now that you're in this Facebook, shouldn't you go to that other Facebook? Yeah, now that you're looking at this Facebook group, shouldn't you feel bad about yourself because of these pictures of these other people that you haven't seen in 20 years? So I appreciate that piece of the Mighty Networks, but I'm also hearing that there's a space of agency and power that you have to have where you're actually utilizing the outside networks to drive traffic back to your space.
Yeah.
And I would also observe this as like a final observation. In physical analog producing, it's not a surprise or a weird thing to go, oh, I'm going to need to have an extra person whose only job it is to make sure the space isn't messy, and like opens the door, closes the door, and does that kind of low-key basic work for the building that we produce in. In digital spaces, people often forget that you still need a person to do that, because that takes time. It takes time to enter people into the space, exit them from the space, answer any questions, remove digital barriers, all of that. So I am hoping that that person manifests for you, because you also, you mentioned a story that's been true for so many of the folks who've been coming in and out of the producing and pandemic flow, and that is, there's a reason why I've been telling folks you have to have resiliency producing models where you're hiring 2 or 3 people or assigning 2 or 3 people to every single role, because we're all having really huge, dramatic, negative life events happening to us every couple of weeks. There's death, there's loss of job, there's loss of life, there's loss of physical stability. So just I'm sending you all the good vibes, and I'm hoping that a person manifests to hold that additional labor, because you're creating a really amazing digital space that I can't wait for you to come back and tell us more about it.
Thank you.
I'm wondering if you have videos or just we've been speaking about your work in a little abstractness. Can you share a screen? Can you share any of it with us? It's okay if
Yeah,
you're like, no, we can't.
I think Amu, you okay with that? I'm just gonna share the beginning of the video.
Oh, okay, all right, okay. We're gonna see a thing, y'all.
How long would you
Wait,
like?
wait. Maybe I should save this to a. Should we? No, let's do it now. Let's do it now. If there are other pieces of alternatives to Facebook conversations where you're like, I had a thing I wanted to say, you can still say it, but let's see the video.
Okay. You can see my screen?
We can.
Okay.
Oh, lovely. This is your website?
It's our website, hoodhippieuniverse.com. Come check us out.
Oh. Oh.
Welcome to Hood Hippie Universe's Dreamers Anonymous.
Huda, Kira, Huda. We take it one day at a time. Trust the process. And we know we are all waking up in, as, and to, feeling at home. The music is different here. The vibrations are different. Introducing decolonization for dreamers. Decolonization for dreamers, y'all. What is decolonization? What is decolonization? Oh, okay. We are training, untraining, entraining, and pointing and aiming our energy towards that question. Decolonization for dreamers. I'm feeling really action-minded today and want to make sure we acknowledge. I want to make sure we acknowledge those who have been stewarding me. I've been stewarding you. On the road of life, watch over us. It is a sacred path of destiny. Oh, no, 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 no. Who would like to start?
I was raised on the land of my ancestors. I am daughter of chapel chairwoman Anne Marie Sayers. Tanner Canyon Coyote Sayers Rouge. I come from Indian Canyon Nation, the only federally recognized Indian country between Sonoma and Santa Barbara along central coastal California. I, as a millennial, as a digital native, recognize my privilege to be on the land of my ancestors, to recognize how deeply rooted I am in this place that I call home. When I travel, even to the neighboring cities, I honor and acknowledge Indigenous protocol. You need to feel that wind in our face, feel that sun on our skin. Gather together with these hood hippies and let's talk about this training, this decolonial effort, this way to re-indigenize our approaches to this world. How can we be in community together? I'm honored to share space with all these amazing healers, these teachers, these community beings who are taking these steps. Let us come together. Let us make a bright future. How are we? How are you being a good ancestor and training?
Click them heels. Man, this is coming to you live. This just in. There's no place like home. Who's next? Who's next? Peace out.
That was amazing. Yeah. Keep sharing your screen though. Keep sharing your screen because I want you to go back to your website because I'm just wondering where we navigate in your website to get to things. So, because I also think this is part of this remote producing ecology, right? So you've got this beautiful hoodhippieuniverse.com under the Creative Liberation Now. And on the front page, it looks like you can, what's this? See, what are these things at the top? I'm literally talking through your website because I'm like, this is getting a tour of your digital home and space. And it's helping us figure out how do we connect to your community. So I see you've got the CLN Now deck. Is that your tarot deck? And people can order that online and then get a physical, like actually have the physical cards in their house. All right. I think that's an interesting piece of community building to have that. And are you doing live readings and stuff with this deck?
We do, yeah. You can, we don't do a lot of live readings right now. You can purchase an hour-long Restoring the Multiverse session with us where we'll do a reading with you with the deck. The deck is woven throughout our Hood Hippie Universe Dreamers Anonymous episodes. The deck will be part of guiding us through our year-long training. We'll probably start doing more like live streaming readings as well.
Okay, so you've got a physical tarot deck covered in gorgeous, beautiful art. People can order that, have that physically in their own home, but then they can do something that's a digital exchange using the cards. I'm loving it. Can you scroll back up to your menu though? Because I want to see the other places where I can get to your stuff. Okay, I see workshops and events. What happens when I click on that? Where does that take me?
So it's funny that we're doing this right now. We just spoke with somebody yesterday to redo the website. So this is all about the change. This is a good little, like, have your eyes on our very simple self-made WordPress. Come to workshop and events. This is the same thing that's on the home page. Register for trimester the whole year. This takes you to the cart where you can buy the training, either the trimester or the year.
I'm trying to figure out what's the pathway to get to your Mighty Network though? This is what you've been telling us though, that
Right, so that's right underneath there, sorry. Takes us,
so
Mighty Networks is right here. Join our Decolonization for Dreamers online community for ongoing free offerings.
All right, so if we click that, that is how people would join that Mighty Network.
Right, so if you weren't already in the network, then it would take you to a little Google form place where you say who you are, you kind of agree to a couple simple agreements. And here is the Mighty Networks Decolonization for Dreamers giveaway moon community space within Starhawks Eat training community space. You can see our Dreamers Anonymous meeting that we had with our featured dream guides for this moon cycle from yesterday morning, where we posted the recording of the episode. There's like a question board where folks are answering questions about what is decolonization.
And I'm looking at this in Mighty Networks. You can kind of choose the different functions that you want. I see activity feed, discovery. What does discovery do?
So
give me an error. What you gonna do?
Yeah, it does do that sometimes on my computer. You know, Discovery might not work within our community yet, because I think Discovery is like what's going on in this community, and we maybe just because we have one container, it doesn't take you anywhere.
Totally. And what I love about this is because you're getting, as with all of these sites, there's the free version, there's the pro version, there's the enterprise version, and you're participating under a larger, it feels like this is an enterprise version under a larger umbrella that has kindly allowed you to have some space inside of that larger community. That's beautiful.
Yeah. So home, here's the larger community. So right now it's largely a permaculture community, largely Euro community.
I've done a terrible job of managing time and space. It is, it's time for me to shut us down. Y'all, we've been together for 90 minutes. This has been amazing. Thank you for this time. As I knew we were going to want to have 2 sessions. So next week, we are going to be continuing our conversation on alternatives to Facebook. We're going to be talking about Podia, Thinkific, We've already talked a little bit about Slack and Discord. We're going to talk about Palapa. We might actually get into some of the actual reasons why the Facebook groups work really well for some, don't work well for others. There's actually, we might invite some folks who like Facebook groups to come and talk to us, to be like, this is why I like it. And these are the levels of support Facebook is giving me that make it something I like. We're going to talk about Circle. We might even talk about Tribe. And there's a couple other sites we might even talk about. In the meantime, congratulations on another week of producing in pandemic. You all are magnificent. Visit the website to see past episodes. And in the meantime, we will see you next week. Say goodbye to everyone. We hit stop recording. Goodbye.